All 6 of them went to the legislature in January. The legislature looked at the 6, and at first they said, "Oh, these are crazy MAGA ideas. We're not going to touch them," right?
Right.
And then the polling showed that they weren't crazy MAGA ideas. They were going to get hurt at the polls in November, and they voted 3 of them into law.
3, and especially the police pursuit, that could have been rectified years ago. So the majority party, the Democrats, refused to implement it. And now come election year, suddenly they become, I don't know, they see the light.
I'm watching on this horrible place called Twitter, the trolls on the other side. They're waiting breathlessly for the first civilian that's injured in a police pursuit.
What are they after?
I think, well, what are they after? I think they're after our freedom.
Truth is freedom.
Hello and welcome to Truth is Freedom. I'm Dennis Cummins, pastor of Experience Church. And today I've got a special guest, Brian Haywood. And we're going to be talking about the idiocy of trying to get rid of natural gas in the state of Washington. That's right. The progressives are at it again to try to minimize our ability to have choice. And so Brian, he's an entrepreneur, successful business owner as well. He moved his family to the state of Washington because he loves the state, and he wanted to make a difference here because there's a lot of crazy things that are happening. And so he was very pivotal in helping us get the initiatives going here in the state of Washington. So Brian, thank you for being on today. Truth is Freedom. Let's first maybe lay some groundwork about this whole why natural gas? Why are they going after this? Get rid of our gas stoves and all of this.
Right. This has been in the works for quite some time, and I sort of fell into this after we got our initiatives qualified in the dead of night at like 2 a.m. On the second to last day of session. They passed a bill that was number 1589. In its original form, the bill actually banned any new gas hookups from PSE starting in June of this year. So it would have gone into effect, like 13 days ago. That was so unpopular, even on the left, that there was a lot of squawking, and they actually took that part out of the bill. But what they left was the infrastructure, the creation of the infrastructure so that Puget Sound Energy can eventually completely stop supplying natural gas.
Oh, wow.
And when we looked at this, the other side was, saying, well, this doesn't ban gas, it doesn't ban gas, it doesn't ban gas. The actual bill they passed creates what are called geographic electrification targets, or requires PSE to create those. And what those mean are they would be certain geographic regions that PSE could target, and they would submit this to the Utilities Commission and say, these are areas that we would stop supplying natural gas to. And of course, they're saying, well, it's not a ban. They're just playing with words, which is incredibly dishonest. And there's up to us to decide it. It's up, and they're right. The Utility Commission would disapprove it. The Utility Commission was saying, we're not doing it, meaning that PSE is choosing which targets. So they're both pointing fingers at the other one without pointing fingers, and both of them claiming there was no ban. So this sort of mess is there. And there's another piece that's important. Both the CCA and there are some climate goals that the governor has committed us to that are in separate pieces of legislation, and therefore, sort of impossible to go in and attack directly without having something more complicated, that ultimately require a complete ban of natural gas in the state. The original target was 2050 by 2050, but everything that they're doing is trying to move that up into the 2030 timeframe. And so this is all just sort of sitting there, and none of us are aware of it, and it's just going on in the dark. And they're making all the plans, including like financial plans for PSE to be able to make this change. And as it currently stands, the cost for that conversion would be laid right on the consumer, like shock, shock, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, we
would have to pay for it, and they estimate it's anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 to convert your house, and then if you live somewhere where it snows and electricity goes out, too bad, you're going to freeze to death, right? That's sort of there's no replacement. There's no, well, you can use heat pumps, they say, but heat pumps don't work below 40 degrees.
Right.
What if I want to cook Chinese food on my gas stove with a wok? Oh, we'll just get you a bigger inverter that costs $2,500 and still doesn't give you the heat you need to cook your Chinese food. It's
Brian, what is the ideology behind this? What are they after?
I think well, I don't know. What are they after? I think they're after our freedom, right? First of all, they want to be able to dictate what energy we can use in our home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's dictation in search of an ideology, or an ideology in search of some rules. I believe it's control, right? If you shut off natural gas, if you make that, and well, we're not going to ban natural gas, but they're basically saying you can only use electric. This is almost an ideology,
Right.
We're only going to use electric. I can imagine a time where Washington State is not able to supply the amount of electricity that's required with all the new Teslas that all the poor people are going to buy,
Yeah.
and we're going to have to import coal-fired electricity over the lines from Montana. We're going to all of our ability to create here. And I believe it has to be control, right? That's the only thing that makes any sense.
Well, you know, capitalism is about creating free market. It's about choice. I'm a
Absolutely.
natural gas customer. I love it. You know, we have a gas dryer. We have an on-demand gas hot water, and those are big energy draws. Two of the biggest, plus the range, for your residential homes. And
Right.
then you add those electric cars and charging. So, I mean, when you take that away, just like you said, it's almost like California's move to say, hey, no more gas cars. We're not going to sell any more gas cars. But we also know the electric grid does not support charging all the electric cars. So, you know, are we going to these 15-minute cities?
Yeah, that's the 15-minute cities that they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that may seem like an idea in the middle of Seattle, but there's
It's not practical.
it's completely not practical. And I think it's actually deadly. I think it's so ideological that it's not considering the people that will literally die because they don't have the heat that they need. People that can't afford, this will crush people. And what the state will do, of course, which is what they always do, they'll create a mess that costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll say, oh, because of this thing that's happening, which we take no responsibility for, costs have gone up. It's going to be $50,000-$60,000 for everybody under this income to change your house over. We're going to create a new tax that taxes everybody so we can fund this bigger mess that we just created.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll be a complete destruction of the economy. That's where we're headed with this if it keeps going.
Well, it's Bidenomics. So you know, let's rewind the clock a little bit, because I think you've been very instrumental in getting some of these initiatives forward. Which ones? Let my viewers know which ones were you behind in helping get out there?
So we got 6 initiatives qualified, and I'll go through each of the 6, but let me take them in 2 batches of 3. All 6 of them went to the legislature in January. And the legislature looked at the 6, and at first they said, oh, these are crazy MAGA ideas. We're not going to touch them, right?
Right.
And then the polling showed that they weren't crazy MAGA ideas. They were going to get hurt at the polls in November. And so they did an about face, and they voted 3 of them into law.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 they voted into law were the restoration of police pursuit and local control of police pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
And that started June 6th. So if anybody was out there thinking about stealing a car and driving away real quick, your window's closed. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Secondly, was the sort of no secrets from parents bill, right? That said that schools have to tell parents the curriculum and things that are going on with their kids. I was just in Spokane yesterday, and a lady came up to me worried. One of her friends had gone to the school and said, I want to see the curriculum. And the school told her they don't have to. They do now. It's law.
Yeah.
Chris Reichdahl, the superintendent of schools for the state, said he wasn't going to enforce this law, which is mind blowing that um, white elected official thinks that he can pull that off.
Exactly.
But we've got a tool now that's in law that people can use to go after schools if they don't cooperate.
Yeah.
The third one that was passed by the legislature was a complete ban on income taxes by the state, city, or county.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will say, well, no, we already had that in our Constitution. The truth is we didn't. We have a ban on progressive income taxes.
Mm.
In other words, they could do a flat tax under the old law, but the new law says no income tax, period, and income tax as defined by the IRS. So they can't play word games with us and say, well, it's really an excise tax.
Mm-hmm.
Those three went into effect on June 6th. There are three more that we gathered signatures for. They qualified, and they will be on the ballot. And those three are a repeal of the capital gains tax,
Mm-hmm.
a repeal of the cap and trade hidden gas tax,
Yep.
and then making the long-term care, which is not really long-term, nor that caring, making it optional so that people can get out. And this one, if people don't know, this is the one that most people don't know about. There are about 500,000 people that were allowed the lucky lotto escapees, I would call them, when the law was first implemented.
Mm-hmm.
They had this little window, and people could enroll in a different program and get out of this and not have to pay the state anymore. But if you were a waitress or a mechanic or worked for a company that didn't have an HR department, you probably didn't know about this, and and you probably might not even know it now. Like if you go back and look at your pay stub, you'll find this WACARES or long-term care tax taking money out of your paycheck every single week, and it just quietly just taking it out. This will allow people, if it's passed in November, to opt out. It sort of evens the playing field for those that didn't have a fancy HR department.
Can I poke at this just a little bit? So we had 6
Please.
initiatives, 3, and especially the police pursuit, that could have been rectified years ago.
Oh, easily.
Right.
And they tried several times, right? They couldn't get, yes.
Right.
Correct.
So the majority party, the Democrats, refused to implement it. And now come election year, suddenly they become, I don't know, they see the light. Oh, we have to change this because it's an election year.
You just cut out. I didn't hear the last part you said. I'm sorry.
It's because it's an election year. Suddenly,
yes, absolutely.
they care about police having teeth to be able to enforce our laws and stop these criminals. You know, I was talking with Sheriff Troyer. I interviewed him not too long ago. He has a boneyard of cop cars that are damaged, broken, and totaled because thieves are ramming other cop cars and they couldn't do anything. And this has been going on for way too long. And suddenly they feel righteous enough to say, you know, we need to pass this law. And like they're doing us a favor. They're the ones that created this problem.
Yeah, they're in their great righteousness. They're deigning to give us peons this gift. I looked at road deaths and road accidents over the 2 years that this law was in place. And what you'll see is that prior to the implementation of the ban on pursuit, there was just on accidents, there was a sort of slow, steady increase that looked very similar to the population growth. Mm-hmm. And road deaths themselves were fairly flat. They're between 530 and 570 deaths per year. It sometimes a little bit up, sometimes a little bit down. Average around 550. The 2 years that this was in place, road accidents shot to the moon. It's like this spike up on the curve.
Wow.
And road deaths jumped from this average of 550 to suddenly 670, and the next year they were 730.
Wow.
I mean, for 6 years it had been in the 500s. Boom! Suddenly we're at 700 road deaths. And so this other side, I'm watching on this horrible place called Twitter, the trolls on the other side, they're waiting breathlessly for the first civilian that's injured in a police pursuit, right? Mm-hmm. They're just waiting for it so they can make it headlines. But they've ignored the extra 200 plus people that have been killed just on the road in the last 2 years. They've ignored those deaths. They don't care. That's not their problem. They've ignored all the crime Stealing a car was the first crime, but they would steal a crime so they could go commit another crime without getting pursued.
Yeah.
And they've ignored that. Go ahead.
No, it's just gone down the rabbit hole, and you know, I don't think the ideology has changed, because no matter what it is, it's like they figure that we're too stupid to figure out what we need, so we just need to shut up and do whatever they say. And if you push back, even with initiatives, which is the legal process to put these things on the ballots because we don't agree with the controlling legislators, they hate that. And so
it's an arrogance.
It's an absolute arrogance. And again, it's just taking away our freedoms and pushing the hidden gas tax and what Inslee said, that, oh, it won't cost anything. If anything, just pennies, if that. You know, you can always tell when he's lying.
Because he's talking.
Yeah.
Well, that one's a particularly terrible lie because, and Inslee knew this, the design of the cap and trade, the way that it's fundamentally structured is that every single year the number of credits decreases. And as a matter of design by the program itself, the cost of gas has to go up. It has to. There's no other choice. So to say that it won't increase is a flat out knowing lie.
Yes.
I mean, it's astounding that, and he's, oh no, I didn't know. Of course you knew. It's designed that way.
Just like he didn't know chop and chaz zones existed in Seattle. Right.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. He's Gomer Pyle in the gubernatorial office.
So let's spin back to this gas initiative. What is our goal here? What do we need?
This one is a really tight time frame. We've only got until July 5th to get 405,000 signatures. You only need 325,000, but our experience is that you need about 405 so that you've got more than enough to deal with, people that aren't registered, et cetera. We've been gathering now for about 13 days. We've got about another 28, 29 days left to gather signatures. We brought paid signature gatherers like we did last time, so we've got some of those out there, and they're important, but really what's important is activating our volunteers all over the state to gather. We need them not to just sign themselves, but get 5, 10, 15, 20 friends to sign the sheet as well.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, as the pastor of this church, we're going to be, I'll be talking about that this Sunday, because we believe in capital markets, right? You don't work, you don't eat. What a concept. And, you know, our philosophy is free market and capitalism, and we have to have choices. If not, we're going to be like Northern Russia.
Yeah, it's not like if this was the 1950s and we were playing around with all these new ideologies and we'd go, gee, I wonder if communism works, that would be excusable. But we've got mass murder, enormous starvation, in complete freedom degradation in numerous countries that played around with this terrible fireball. And we haven't learned from it. Like, oh, no, we like that. Let's let the government control all the resources and take all our choices away. Nothing bad could happen, could it?
No, not at all. Yes, we've seen it. And I think we should start an exchange program with North Korea, Iran, Syria. Right. Some of these countries, we could just send some of the ones that are unhappy with the United States of America. But
we could start with our legislators, maybe. But
I will pay for the plane tickets. Well, Brian, I really want to say thank you, because it's people like you that have a heart and a passion to be the tip of the spear. And, I think the blessing of the Lord is on you to make it possible. And you're not turning the other cheek. You're vested. You're the antithesis of Soros. Thank you very much. And that's what we need.
I have been blessed. I think, first of all, anyone born in North America has been blessed, in an enormous way. And then to be living in Washington State, what a beautiful place.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top of that, I've been financially very, very lucky and blessed throughout my life. And then you look around and you go, what does all that mean if we live in a place that starts taking freedom away from people? So I've gotten involved, and what's really been encouraging is that as I've done this, people around the state have stepped up and said, "We're with you, right?
Yeah.
We support this." If you look at the initiative signatures that we gathered, we ran some data on some modeling on who actually signed. We got about 830,000 people that signed. Of those, uh, about 57% were either independents or Democrats,
Wow.
and 43% were Republicans, which means that these are not partisan issues. These are things that Olympia got so out of whack
Yeah.
that even their own people, right, were saying, this is too much. You've pushed too far.
That's right. That's right. So thank you. And I wouldn't say, yeah, you might had some good opportunities, but I believe you're exercising wisdom because wise people, don't get where they're at without wisdom. You didn't trip your way to your place. So you've earned it. You've worked hard for it. And now you're paying back that goodness to others. So thanks for being in the fight. Thank you for being on this episode. Anything left you'd like to say?
No, my big plea to all your listeners would be get sheets. Go to letsgowa.com if I can put that in. Letsgowa.com will give you where you can order sheets. We need them. Like this is a real rush. We've got until July 5th. We're trying to get everything back in around June 28th, and then getting your neighbors. This is something people can talk with their neighbors about this.
Yeah.
You knock on a door. You don't have to say I'm a Republican or anything like that. You say, do you think the state should ban natural gas? And you get oh, no way, right? That's going to be the response that comes back. So
well, all those Generac customers that have those backup generators hooked up to natural gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
that's right.
So, yeah.
Pizza ovens, Chinese food, Mexican food. It's going to be very bland. I don't know. Reheated casserole is what we're going to be.
No bueno here,
with.
Man.
Exactly.
Oh, well, Brian, thank you so much. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, sir.
May God bless you,
it.
your family, and your endeavors, and we'll keep the fight.
Thanks for all you do. I appreciate it, Pastor.
Likewise. Well, thank you guys so much. That's Truth is Freedom. And so don't forget, like, subscribe, share, and let's get this information out so that way we can change lives. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for watching this episode. Make sure to share this out, and remember, truth is freedom.